Released on August 27th, 2001, Terria marks Devin Townsend's fourth, or maybe fifth, or even sixth solo album, depending on who you ask. I'm just going with fourth. F you, Wikipedia. Terria is Devin Townsend's fourth solo album in a long and lustrous career. It's a beautiful blend of Townsend's extreme metal roots and a tranquil meditation on nature and life. Produced by Devin Townsend and mixed by Devin Townsend and Sean Thingvold, it's Terria, tonight on Sounds Pretty Grim. Devin Townsend, for me, is in the absolute top tier of Canadian people. Known for his guitar prowess and often extreme vocal stylings, Townsend has been a somewhat eccentric fixture in the metal and progressive rock world for nearly 4 decades. Back in 1993, a demo album of Townsend's caught the attention of Steve Vai, who went on to select Devin as the lead vocalist for his Sex and Religion album and its subsequent world tour. After securing a record deal with Century Media Records, Townsend began working under the banner of Strapping Young Lad, releasing 1995's Heavy as a Really Heavy Thing, later assembling the legendary lineup of Gene Hoglan, Jed Simon, and Byron Stroud for the essential classic 1997's City. (1997's Ocean Machine, Biomech, kicked off a string of sometimes weird but always wonderful solo albums from Townsend. 1998's Infinity, 2000's Physicist, and tonight's subject, 2001's Terria. He is a prolific musician, to put it mildly, creating art under a dizzying multitude of different project names and banners. Devin Townsend, the Devin Townsend Band, Devin Townsend Project, Strapping Young Lad, Casualties of Cool, Punky Brewster, the contrabulous fab-traption of Professor Devin Townsend. I made that last one up. Having such a massive catalog can be daunting and confusing to the uninitiated listener. I've made this handy chart, which chronicles Devin Townsend's artistic output thus far. Now that I've cleared up any confusion, let's move on. Written and recorded over a year and inspired by the natural beauty of the Canadian countryside as seen from the window of a tour van, Terria is described by Townsend as a, quote, delayed check-in with life, unquote, after living his formative adult years fully immersed in the heavy metal world. Along with the legend himself, Gene Hoglan on drums, Craig McFarlane on bass, and Jamie Meyer providing piano and big string keyboards, Devin performs vocals, guitars, samples, additional keyboard stuff. Like most of his solo work, Terria is very much Townsend's weird brainchild. Townsend's solo albums don't really sound like other metal or rock albums. It seems like there's not so much concern for simulating the sonics of a live band or a realistic space. It's usually more about creating a piece for maximum emotional impact, and to give Townsend's unique vocal and guitar stylings room to run wild. Townsend's metal guitar rhythms sound glorious on heavier tracks like Earth Day and The Fluke. Some strapping-esque 5150 type tones and heavy rectifier stuff, just with otherworldly ambience. But also twangy cleans and more gentle tones from the single coil Strat with which the album was written and recorded. A little bit of folksy country tone to go with the album's more bucolic vibe. It's a showcase for Dev's always interesting vocals, his potent metal screams, his ambient backing vocals stacked atop each other in an ethereal choir. But there's also more rawness and more candor to the softer vocal sections. There's chill vocal stylings on both Ocean Machine and Infinity as well, but here on Terria they're presented more front and center, and not as heavily augmented with swirly modulation effects, which fittingly makes the vocal performances seem so much more intimate and direct.
'Cause it's all a lie, it's true. I think, I guess, I know, I think, I know. Fuck off. Why can't I remember?
Townsend, being something of a lead guitar virtuoso, certainly gets his moments to shine here, but avoids devolving into self-indulgence. He's a songwriter and a storyteller first, and his guitar prowess is an important part of his palette, every bit as expressive and evocative as his vocals. For instance, the guitar solo in Deep Peace, which begins kind of loose and formless, almost meandering, but over time it slowly assembles itself into maybe the most beautiful part of the record. This is normally where I'd play a little sound clip of what I'm talking about for educational and fair use purposes, but I'm not butchering this solo into a short, out-of-context clip, so moving on. Terria was my introduction to Devin Townsend's solo albums. I was familiar with the strapping young lad stuff from Century Media Records' CD sampler, Identity. This was a free CD, hence the subtitle. No barcode, you just took it from the record store. These were one of the best ways to discover bands before streaming was a thing. I ordered Terria sight unseen based on strapping young lad's pedigree and the glowing description in the good old Century Media print catalog. This was back when ordering new music carried with it some risk. This was pre-iPod here. Actually, Terria came out about 2 months shy of the original iPod's release. With streaming now, whatever, you type Terria, you got it, enjoy. Your only hurdle is being in the right state of mind for a slow burner. There's a bit from Townsend's commentary track on the 10th anniversary edition of Terria. He describes the first 2 tracks as intentionally slow-going, an unhurried way to get into the record, saying that an album that demands your attention right off the bat is, quote, rude. When recommending Terria in current year, I almost feel the need to mention that little caveat, because this is the Spotify age. Everything's gotta be grabby, even more so than in the radio days. That skip button is just so readily available. You're a tap away from not only the next track, but an entirely different artist in a whole other genre. Terria, with its expansive concept album scope, does not fit into that world. That's not to say that there isn't catchier material on here. The Fluke, Stagnant, even Earth Day are earworms. But Terria's soul comes from the slower and quieter moments. There's so much tranquility to be found when the intensity kinda ebbs. It's not really stuff designed for the Discovery playlist. Terria is an album, one that, in my opinion, is best heard in its entirety, in one go. The packaging features some beautiful artwork from Travis Smith. This is Smith's second time on Sounds Pretty Grim after episode 7's look at Nevermore. He clearly gets into the headspace of the record and just nails it visually. And my favorite Smith works are wide natural landscapes. I'm just an outdoorsy guy, and Terria is kind of the best example of that. There's a 2024 vinyl reissue that's easy to find and sounds lovely. My one complaint is that you need to flip sides in the middle of the Earth Day Deep Peace Canada Down and Under sequence, which is the best unbroken stretch of the album. But that's the limitation of the LP format, and thus the way the cookie crumbles. This is a massive sounding album, mostly by virtue of the contrast between that big Devin Townsend metal sound and the unhurried stretches of tranquility. Terria sounds unique even amid the rest of Townsend's eclectic catalog. This is the part where I'd normally recommend other albums by the artist, but there is entirely too much Townsend material out there to adequately cover in this segment. Absolutely seek out Strapping Young Lad's 1997 album City. I'll likely have an entire Sounds Pretty Grim episode on it someday if I'm still doing this. But in terms of recommendations that are somewhat in the vein of Terria, 1997's Ocean Machine, aka Ocean Machine Biomech, aka Devin Townsend's Ocean Machine Biomech, depending on which edition you find. Ocean Machine is probably the best starting point for getting into the Townsend discography, to be honest. Terria is a little more weird in sound and structure, which might be off-putting. Everybody loves 2006's epic rock space opera Ziltoid the Omniscient. I could have done a whole Sounds Pretty Grim about Ziltoid, but I feel like anything less than shooting the entire episode with puppets somehow would be an artistic and critical failure on my part. So, for something even more accessible, 2009's Addicted by the Devin Townsend Project, featuring frequent collaborator and former The Gathering singer, Annika von Giesbergen. This one's got a lot of high energy, catchy tunes if you're into that sort of thing. Dev's got a new one coming out soon, 2026's The Moth. It's actually probably already out by the time I edit this thing, so I'll leave the light on. And I gotta update the giant chart.
It's over, Okay, let's do it with the vocal. We didn't do it with the vocal.